Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today's topic is going to be the successful personality. What are the personality traits associated with success, and can we manifest success through belief or through thinking about it? There is a lot of literature that discusses how people approach success and what traits and variables lead to them being more successful. And I wanted to look at that through the lens of personality psychology today and take you through a little bit of some of the literature that I could find that discusses the relationship between personality and success. Let's get into it. One of the important things to remember today, as we're discussing the idea and concept of success, is that there's no universal definition of success that is going to be accepted by everyone. And in fact, one of the papers that we're looking at today gives us this quote: Success is something that, as a concept, remains universal in its appeal and motivation for attainment, whilst seeming consistently to lack definition. Hannon Smith, 2017. As they discuss in this paper, there's a vast body of research on success, specifically in a lot of different domains. In academia, you might measure success through grades or through the attainment of some sort of degree or certification, whilst in a job, you might define success as having a higher salary or even something more related to intrinsic motivation, like how much you like your job or how much you like the people that you're working with. Just because success isn't something that's going to be universally the same for everyone in the world doesn't mean there aren't going to be large patterns that emerge when we look at the population of humans on the planet and what they generally find to be related to success. That's all that the field of statistics really is anyway. We're looking at norms and averages and seeing how the larger picture represents the people who are within that larger picture. So, this study that I'm looking at looked at how some students defined success or explained successful students in their environment. Here are a few quotes. There are two guys in our class who have fives, which is known as top grades and everything, who have like 96% on all courses that we've taken. They're super nice, social, sporty. They're like two Mr. Perfects. And I just think it's cool. Another quote. There's a guy and a girl who are very talented. Both have a girlfriend or boyfriend and revise perfectly. They know everything, masses. They talk, are friendly, laugh a lot, are well liked, and exercise a lot. He's done the Ironman and still has a girlfriend and studies. And they're, of course, very popular. Everybody likes them. As you can see from these definitions, from these explanations coming from these students, success isn't always going to be something that's just related to academic success, but also things like social success. As the paper notes, both of these students' comments both convey the valorization of high achievement, but also emphasize the importance of being able to attain first rate grades while also excelling in a range of other ways, being super nice, popular, friendly, sporty, or able to hold down a relationship and to have fun and be happy or laugh a lot. What's really interesting to me is something that emerged as a pattern in that a lot of the students perceived the pinnacle of success to be being successful with little or less effort than some of the other students. For example, one of the students discusses how they felt like it was high status to get high results based on little study time. And this is something that is referred to as effortless achievement. Now, the literature wants to let you know that effortless achievement doesn't literally mean that there was no effort used. It means that there's a perception that the person who achieved this thing is not actually expending that much effort. And this is something that the paper notes matches with Western ideals that intelligence is something to greatly be aspirational towards or respective of. They do note that while this effortless achievement isn't something that is always achievable, what was possible is something that was known as the stressless achievement. And this is where we're going to start talking about personality. So, this stressless achievement is a new concept and is characterized by high ability beliefs, absence of unproductive worrying, and an apparent relative lack of tension. In their words, an ability to seemingly cruise through. A number of students at least managed to look as though they cruised through. I had a classmate, an amazing girl who never seemed stressed or nervous, one of those incredibly successful people. So, this stress-less personality or this characteristic is the ability to be in a high effort environment while appearing as if you're not really putting in that much effort and still succeeding. This type of success is often associated with not only being able to succeed in whatever domain you're trying to succeed in, but also being able to have some sort of life or enjoyment of life outside of that. They talk about in the paper how it's more than just being able to say that you're spending 12 hours at a library studying for an upcoming test, but also that you're still able to go do things outside of that. If you're only studying and that's something that is stressful and a lot of energy for you, you're not seen as having this stressless success. I think a successful strategy is to be able to divide your time between things. I've got time when I'm studying and spend these few hours studying, but then I'm seeing another context. I run this karaoke event at a bar. You've got a little project that kind of displays that you're a cool dude as well. And these are the ones you look up to, the success symbol. The guys that are able to divide their stuff and have time when they're studying or when you're studying. So we have a definition a little bit of what is associated with being perceived as successful, at least something general, right? As I mentioned earlier, success isn't going to be universal to everyone, but when we look at the general population, it's kind of being able to succeed in your domain of interest while also having some sort of life outside of that. So, what personality traits or characteristics have been associated with success and this type of success before? When we look at the big five, some clear patterns emerge. The number one personality trait associated with both intrinsic and extrinsic success is going to be conscientiousness. And of course, this makes sense. If you're someone who's dutiful, if you're someone who can manage your time well, if you're someone who has the ability to hold a lot of things in your head like tasks that need to be done and manage when they need to be done, you're going to be someone who might be able to have that stress less type of approach to your academic career or whatever domain that you're working in, whether it's business or finance or something else. Essentially, people who are highly conscientious are generally going to be able to organize things easier. And because they're able to organize things more easily and with less effort, that might make them appear as if they have that stress less personality to those around them. You might be someone who's relatively low on conscientiousness, and you'll look at someone who's high in it and you'll think, wow, how are they able to juggle all these things that they're juggling, even if both of these people have the same level of intelligence, right? If you take two equally intelligent or smart people, but one of them is high in conscientiousness and one of them is low in conscientiousness, the high conscientious person is more likely to be successful because they're more easily able to manage their time and manage the tasks that they have in their life. Also, looking at the literature, we see that neuroticism tends to negatively impact extrinsic career success and even career satisfaction. So, if you're someone who's more emotionally volatile, it makes sense that you might be more prone to perceiving negative things in your work environment or getting more easily stressed, which is overall going to lower your satisfaction level towards the work environment academic area that you are working in. So, of course, it makes sense, in my opinion, that neuroticism is generally negatively associated with success. Extroversion is typically positively associated with career satisfaction and, in some cases, extrinsic success, such as salary and promotions. People who are extroverted tend to be more likely to ask for promotions, they tend to be more likely to network successfully. That is actually one of the big things that is required for success in a lot of fields, especially things like academia, where I am. You need to be able to network and communicate with other people in your field. And if you're someone who's highly introverted, even if you're capable, you're less likely than the highly extroverted person who's also capable of getting some sort of promotion or position, just because they're going to know more people than you and they're going to have more people who are able to endorse their abilities and the skills that they have. Now we have agreeableness. Agreeableness is one of those things that you would assume has a positive relationship with success, but it actually tends to show a negative relationship with extrinsic success, things like salary, promotions, these sort of things. But it has a positive relationship with intrinsic career evaluations. So, why is this? So, people who are agreeable tend to be maybe less likely to do things like ask for promotions or challenge the authority of someone higher than them. They're going to be a little bit more complacent in their work environment because they're agreeable to whatever situations are presented to them. And because they are agreeable to these situations, they might feel like they can fit into them and still be happy or successful in them intrinsically, even if their extrinsic measures of the success are not comparative to other people with different personality traits, especially lower levels of agreeableness. Now, I do think that there's kind of a plateau here when you get into low agreeableness. I don't have a direct citation or quote for this, but if you take someone who's like 30th percentile agreeableness, which is a little less than average, they might be more likely to challenge someone, ask for a promotion, these sorts of things. But then if you move into something like 5th percentile agreeableness, which is really, really low, then you're going to have someone who's combative towards everyone around them, and they're kind of causing a lot of problems or struggles for those around them. And this, in my opinion, it would be something that would reduce extrinsic success as well as intrinsic success. I might be able to find a study that supports that idea, but I don't have one directly off the top of my head. Finally, we have openness to experience. And openness is, if you have read some of the big five literature, you'll know that it's a personality trait that is less often linked significantly with outcomes. And this is because, in my opinion, openness is more about how willing you are to engage in new experiences and things, as opposed to the way in which you engage with them or your style or attitude about those things. And as a result of this, people who are open have sometimes negative relations to things like salary or extrinsic levels of success, but these are not consistent findings, and really openness doesn't seem to have much of a significant relationship with things like success, and you're more likely to see that the other personality traits are going to be more significantly related. So there are also some other general personality traits that could be correlated with five-factor model that are related to success. Things like the feeling for a need for achievement, self efficacy, resilience, innovativeness, stress tolerance, which is going to be associated with probably less neuroticism, the need for autonomy, which is probably associated with low extroversion, proactive personalities, risk propensities. These are something that's going to be associated with success. And in fact, risk propensity is positively associated with entrepreneurial intentions, but not necessarily with entrepreneurial performance. So people who are, for example, low in conscientiousness, who might be higher in risk taking or impulsivity, might be more willing to try some sort of new idea or engage in some sort of new scheme that they have. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be successful in that. It just means that they might be more willing to kind of start that process. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, how might this relate to things like the Myers-Briggs? When we look at the literature related to the Myers-Briggs and personality types, we can see, of course, that there's going to be correlations between type and income, with the EJ personality types having the highest levels of income, while we look at the opposites, the IPs, who tend to have the lowest levels of income. Now, I don't have studies related to intrinsic motivation on hand with me, but generally what we're going to see is that this matches with the five-factor model's descriptions and relationships between personality and success, and that people who are EJs, also known as extroverted and relatively highly conscientious, they are going to be in general more successful in extrinsic levels of motivation compared to types who are the opposite of that, who would be IPs, or people who are introverted and have lower levels of conscientiousness. That is a general look at personality and success, or the successful personality. I hope you enjoyed that and found it insightful. To me, it's always interesting to look at things like success, which is something that can be measured both uh, externally with things like salary and promotions, or it's something that we can measure intrinsically, like how good do you feel about your job, or how good do you feel about the things that you've achieved in life. And it's important to remember that success isn't something that is universal. When we look at personality traits and types and the combinations of those things and how they differ, we're going to see that everyone has their own definition of what it means to be successful. And what's most important in life is being successful in the realm that you believe is important to you, whether that's getting a new job, whether that's raising a family, whether that's just being happy and finding a good partner relationship to be in. You just want to be successful in a way that is important to you and not in a way that's important to everyone else. With that said, I still think it's interesting to see how we can measure things like extrinsic success, or success that is through something like salary promotions, and just see the kind of traits that are associated with that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I plan to do one talking about the idea of manifesting success. I was going to do that with this video, but I think it's going to be better left for another one. So I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.